So I have always been a pretty frugal person. I definitely have my father to blame or thank for that, depending on your opinion of frugality. One of my strong memories from childhood is of going grocery shopping with my dad early on Sunday mornings, before church, don't worry. We would start by looking at the sales flyer in the Sunday paper, taking note of what was on sale that week and building meals around it, cutting out coupons if we needed them. It was on those grocery trips that my dad taught me how to comparison shop, probably completely unconsciously on his part, picking out the can of beans that was 10 cents cheaper or the brand of yogurt that happened to be on sale that week. I think it's in large part because of these Sunday morning shopping expeditions that I still pride myself on being able to find good deals, and I hate paying full price for anything. Now, as New Englanders known for frugality, I imagine some of you might be able to relate, perhaps. But I also know that there is a negative side to my frugality. It means that I'm not always as generous as I would like to be. My default approach to money is from a mindset of scarcity, wondering if I will have enough, worrying about spending beyond my means. And so generosity is a spiritual exercise for me, in which I have to push myself beyond that fear of not having enough and trust that being generous is not going to mean I won't be able to make ends meet. Now, obviously, I do a little more than just trust when I'm thinking about how much I can give. I've got spreadsheets and a stellar budgeting app that help alleviate my money anxiety in a responsible way. But I do think the relationship of money and trust is an important one to tease out. There are so many ways that we can choose to trust or not trust when it comes to money and generosity. One of the big questions we all face in choosing when choosing whether or not to give to this cause or that cause is who it is that we trust with our money. Who do we trust to use our money for good and to use it responsibly? How do we know that our money won't be wasted? There are literally entire websites devoted to this, giving grades to the various charitable organizations based on how much money goes directly to their mission, how much goes to overhead, how much to directly impacted communities. This is part of how we talk about giving these days, asking who it is that is most worthy of our gift. It used to be that there were only a few options of places to give. Mostly, people just gave to their church without thinking much about it. These days, we could spend days researching and trying to decide who we trust the most to do the most good with our money. So as the person whose job it is to convince you to give to the work of this congregation, I've got a lot of competition. And unfortunately for me, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashua doesn't show up on any of those websites about the best places to give. So we have to earn your trust in other ways. Now, luckily, some of those ways are built into how we function. We are an organization that's based on relationship. When you give to this church, you aren't giving to a nameless, faceless person that you've never met. You're giving to the people who sit next to you in the pews every Sunday. You're giving to the community who showed up when you lost a parent. You're giving to the people with whom you've had deep conversations about your beliefs and values. You're giving to an organization that you yourself have a stake in, that you yourself benefit from. But even more than that, you are giving to our vision for the world. And so perhaps the question is not about whether you trust the Unitarian Universalist Church of Nashua to do good things with your money. Instead, the question is, how much do you trust Unitarian Universalism's vision for our world? So, do you trust Unitarian Universalism's vision for our world? That is a much bigger and deeper question than whether or not you think we're going to use your money responsibly. It's a question of values and putting your money where your values are. Now, I have to assume that you are here, that you keep showing up here because you do, in fact, trust in Unitarian Universalism's vision for our world. That's why you're here, right? You are here because you do believe in the inherent worth and dignity of every person, that you believe that every person is worthy of love. Is that why you're here? You are here because you know that we are connected to each other, even if we don't quite understand how. And you believe that this connection to each other is what calls us to care for one another and to work for justice in our world. You are here because you believe in the power of community to nurture our spirits and to help heal our world. Despite the glorification of individualism in our larger culture, you have chosen to be in community with others because you know we are better together. You are here because you trust that Unitarian Universalism has something to offer not just to you as an individual, but to our world. And you want to make sure we're here so we can offer that. So if all of this is true, and I hope maybe I said something that resonated with you there, if all of this is true, then our ask today should be pretty easy. You're already bought in, right? But the reality is, it rarely is an easy ask. This whole church thing is so intangible. It can be hard for us rational, frugal folks to get on board. We can't comparison shop for vision and find one that's 10 cents cheaper. Nor can we quantify in money things like love or justice or spiritual growth. As Reverend Julia Hamilton writes, we have the audacity to imagine that the real value here is something that cannot be bought or sold, something that is beyond the ability of money to quantify. We hold up our dreams. We hold up our dreams and then we turn to each other. I turn to you right now and ask, are you in? How much will you give? And then we trust. We trust that our dreams, our vision is powerful enough that you will say yes. We trust that you believe this community matters and that you want to support it. We trust that if our vision is powerful enough, the abundance that we need to grow our vision, to further our work in the world, will emerge. Quaker teacher and author Parker Palmer writes, "In the human world, abundance does not just happen automatically. It is created when we have the sense to choose community, to come together to celebrate and share our common store. Whether the scarce resource is money or love or power, the true law of life is that we generate more of whatever seems scarce by trusting its supply and passing it around. Authentic abundance is not found in secured stockpiles of food or cash or influence or affection, but in belonging to a community where we can give these goods to others who need them and receive them from others who are in need. Community doesn't just create abundance. Community is abundance. So today, I'm actually asking you to put some number to love and justice and spiritual growth. But I want you to think about that number, what you will give to the church, not in terms of how much you personally get from the church, but instead how much you trust our vision for the world. This year, our stewardship team is inviting folks to consider a 10% increase if you've given in the past. And in fact, we've made those letters that some of you have picked up make it really easy for you to do that 10% increase. We've calculated it for you so you can see what it would look like to give just 10% more. That's what I'm planning to do this year. I already gave my form to one of our lovely stewardship folks. If you haven't increased your commitment in several years, maybe you can think about making an even bigger increase this year. Maybe it's been a while since you sat back and thought, how much do I trust Unitarian Universalism's vision for the world? And if this is your first time giving, we're so excited. And I want you to think about what feels right to you. And then maybe think about 10% more than that. I'm always happy to be in conversation about how to decide what to give. Today, I'm not just asking you to think about what you personally get from this church. We're not buying into that individualistic consumer model, right? I want you to think about how you can financially support the growth of our vision, the growth of love, of connection, of spirit, of those intangible things. We are holding up those dreams, holding them up for you. Turning to you and asking, are you in? And how much can you give? I trust in your generosity. In that spirit, I want to invite you to rise in body or spirit for our closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment, number 1028.